Hi, I'm Tim Moss with Custom Guns, Ammo and Repairs. The other week we did a video using this gun, and what prompted the video was we were doing a video on a Scout that we had converted to a smokeless muzzleloader, and it had a Picatinny rail, and we'd mentioned that when you're mounting a scope, that I always mount it towards the back because I found that scopes march backwards. Well, I got some comments about that, so we did a video that using this rifle, and we had a mark showing a white line, and we took some shots, and after about the first shot, the scope marched back and it didn't march back any further. So since that time, a lot of people seen that video, and some people, they acknowledge that it marched backwards. Some guys I don't even think watched the video because they're making comments that it defies physics, that defies the laws of science. Just because this seems to march backwards and you have a formula that doesn't conform to, maybe you guys ought to adjust your formula. Maybe you don't have your formula right. So, and we did get some comments that I would say it was a fairly valid point, but if they were watching the video closely the first time, the scope moved back about 1/16 of an inch, I said. Well, after we cut the video, I got calipers out, and it was 0.08, which is just over 5/64 is what it moved back, and that's all it can move back. So in the last test that we did, it moved back as far as it could go in between these slots in the Picatinny. It moved as far back as it could in the first two shots. In the second two shots, it didn't move forward. But some of the guys apparently missed that, and they also seem to miss the second close-up shots. We have the video shows me shooting the gun, and then the second close-up is at 40% speed. So it's not going full speed. Anything that's happening right back here where the scope slides, you guys should be able to see it. So we had several guys ask, quite a few guys have asked for me to do the test again because they figure the test is only half complete, because we didn't put the scope rings on the back side of the Picatinny rail and see if it moves forward. So their contention is if the screws aren't tight to specs, the scope will move forward and backwards. But it's always been my experience that the scope moves back and then it sits on that back rail. If the scope was loose enough to fall off, maybe it would just keep going back and forth. So we did everything the same. It's the same gun, same markings. We just have the gun sitting on the back of the Picatinny rail right now, and we're going to take some shots and see if it moves forward. I don't think it will, but who knows? That's why we test things out, right? So what I think the definition of self-induced stupidity is coming to conclusions without investigation. So we're investigating. We're going to see, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this thing marches back and marches forward. But I think, from my experience, it marches backwards. And, when I first mentioned this, it concerned a break-open action gun. It was a single shot. And I've noticed it with bolt actions. I don't know what would happen. Say we had a full auto BMG here, a full auto 5.56. I don't know where the scope's going to go if the screws aren't torqued to spec. Because you got a bunch of things happening at play and the action's moving. But the single shots, the bolt actions on Picatinny rails, I've noticed that if it's not torqued to spec, it marches backwards. And for you guys that are saying, hey, you cheated on the test, you didn't torque the screws to specs, that's the premise of the test, guys. Where does the scope go if the screws aren't torqued to specs? So if you want to be helpful, you got to watch the video and then give constructive comments. If you want to be a troll, then go ahead and don't watch it and put your comments in. But everybody knows what you're doing. So anyhow, we're going to give it a try. We'll see if it marches forward at all. With this, the torque on these screws is like 2 pounds. That's all we got. Factory specs are much more than that. They're around 20 pounds. So it's 2 pounds of torque. We got it mounted towards the back, and we're going to see if it marches forward and fills up the space. So we got a 5/64 space, and we're going to see in a couple minutes if we keep that space or if the scope's going to march forward. It marched backwards in only 1 or 2 shots. So I guess we'll do 4 shots and see if it goes anywhere. So we just took 4 shots, and the scope did not march forward as many people predicted. So I know I know it's hard for some guys to wrap their minds around, because when they see this gun going backwards, they're saying that this rail on the Picatinny is going to hit the scope ring, which is true when it's all the way forward. But guys are forgetting about all the force that's exerted on the stop. So when it stops, the scope keeps going. So there's no trick photography here. The slow motion that you'll see, it's 40% speed. And the only thing I can suggest to you guys with the formulas that says that this defies physics and engineering and everything else is, based on my experience, you guys really need to relook at your formula. I think you have your formula wrong on how you're figuring how a scope should move on a scope, because this is real life. And in my experience, this isn't the first time I've seen formulas not work out. Science throughout history has been proven wrong time and time again. It constantly evolves. So this is real world working experience. So take it for what it's worth, but you saw it here for yourself.